Okay, people, I'm back. Fred White, Tales from the Pen. If you're new to the channel, please go down and hit subscribe. I'm going to sit right here and wait. Right there, button on the right. See it? Boom. Hit that subscribe button for me. Hit that notification button right next to the subscribe button and click all. This way, anytime I do a video, you'll know. I've been noticing though, like a lot of times when people drop videos, I'm not getting even the, the messages until the next day, 2 days later. So you have to click that all button. So today's story is one I sat on for a little while, but it's a very interesting story. It's a very, very deep story. And when you guys hear it, you guys are going to understand and you guys are going to relate. And leave your comments down in the box and let me know what you think about this story, okay? So today's story is about a young man who grew up in a violent world, didn't have a father in his life, and his mom was going through her issues. Just leave it like that. So pretty much she was like a lone wolf. Following other people in the streets because he was very young. Also, the story is also about forgiveness. Yeah. Today's story is very much about forgiveness, and you're going to understand as the story unfolds. So, today's story is about a friend of mine. His name was Shavod Buddha Jones. His name is Shavod Jones. We called him Buddha. Now, I met Buddha in Kaksaki in the early 90s. Now, Kaksaki is an upstate prison in New York State that mostly only housed adolescents. When you are on Rikers Island, you're fighting your case, and you take a cop out and take a few years, or whether you blew trial and got a lot of time, and you were an adolescent, they sent you to Kaksaki, especially if you had a lot of time. If you had like 5 years or more, you went to Kaksaki. Okay, Kaksaki was, anybody that been to Kaksaki or knows about Kaksaki, comment down below. It was gladiator school, always has been, and probably always will be. Because it's young kids, 16, 17, 18, 19 to 21 mostly, with 40, 50, 60 years. You know what I mean? And as kids, sometimes we make irrational decisions, right? And sometimes as kids, we're not in control of our emotions. Sometimes as adults, we're not in control of our emotions. But as kids, it was a very combustible place. Always something going on in Kaksaki. True story. So I met Buddha in Kaksaki. We were in A3. He was one of my neighbors. And, me and Buddha got really, really tight. Okay? At the time, I didn't know Buddha for his case until we got to vibing. And I was like, oh, that was you. So Buddha, again, Buddha was a very good dude, man. Very good kid. Buddha was the type, like there was a bunch of dudes running around in the yard, and they were running up on people and stealing their army coats. Army coats are big in the state of New York, right? That's like the only winter coat you can have. When you come upstate, they give you clothes. They give you 3 pairs of pants, 3 green shirts, 3 green pants, 3 underwears, 3 t-shirts. They give you what's called state boots, which are hard, cardboard, terrible. And they give you a pair of Chuck Taylors. Okay, so this is what they give you, and they give you a state jacket, right? It's supposed to be warm, but nobody really wears them. They get what was army coats. That was the only coats you can get in the New York prison at that time. Was the big army coats. So at the time, there was a bunch of these kids running around, and they were robbing people. Excuse me, y'all, of their army coats. So I remember Buddha was the type. Like, if you was his man, like when them dudes, I seen the incident one time in the yard where dudes went to rob this kid. And Buddha didn't really know the kid too well either, but the kid was quiet, he didn't bother nobody. And when dudes ran up on him, Buddha went over there. Buddha barely knew this kid. And the kid that basically, pulled the thing out and, was trying to rob the kid, Buddha beat the hell out of him. True story. Buddha wasn't that big either. You know what I mean? Buddha was maybe like 5'8", 5'9". He had a little size to him. Real quiet, real smooth, man. Very respected. So when Buddha went over there to protect the kid, he beat the dude up and all of that. You know what I mean? Buddha was always in something, always beating somebody up, or, you know, but always for a reason. Like, Buddha wasn't those ones that was running around robbing people. Buddha wasn't the ones running around causing, you know, he was sticking up for people. That's how Buddha was. Buddha was a cool dude, man. I don't know how else to explain it. But when you hear his case, you know what I mean? A lot of people, how cool was he? But he was a good dude, man. I'm telling you right now, I knew him personally. And to know the struggles he came from. So, in 1986, Buddha was 15 years old. And Buddha had already been in and out of the system. He had been to Hawthorne for some robberies. He was on probation for some robberies. He was actually out on bail because they were robbing people in Central Park, putting knives to their throat and taking their motorbikes. This was Buddha when he was in the streets. He grew up in Harlem. Again, no father around. Mom was in her own struggles. He was in the streets, man, at a young age. At 9, 10 years old, the boy was in the streets. 1986, Officer Steven McDonald. This case is very, 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 very famous in New York, and you can Google this. Steven McDonald, a police officer, 29 years old, from Long Island. There was a bunch of robberies in the park. He seen these 3 kids by the reservoir. And he walked over to him, and as he's searching them, one of them turned around and had a .22 caliber gun and shot him 3 times. That was Buddha. He ended up paralyzing the police officer. His name was Steven McDonald, as I told you guys. And Buddha, because he was a minor, the most he can get was 10 years at that time, something like that. And Buddha got arrested, and Buddha got sentenced, and Buddha went to Division for Youth. And when he turned 18, they sent him to the state penitentiary, which is where I met him at, in the state penitentiary. DFY, like I said, I mean Division for Youth. When you're younger at that time, when you're 13, 14, 15, and you commit a crime, they send you to a youth facility. They don't want you with the adults. They don't want 13, 14-year-olds with grown men. But when your ass turn 18, they kick you out and they send you to state prison to finish the rest of your sentence. So again, that's where I met Buddha. Now, here's where the story really gets crazy. Steven McDonald, the following year, forgave Buddha. He forgave him and actually said that he felt bad for him because he understood and he found out the kid's story and realized, like, wow, this kid was raised in the streets. This kid had no guidance. This kid had nobody around him to tell him, listen, man, this is what you're supposed to do. No man in his life. Okay? So, Steven McDonald forgave Buddha. So much, like, this is the crazy part. When me and Buddha was talking and he's telling me all of this, you know, he forgave me and all that, I didn't believe him. Until he started showing me letters. This man, Steven McDonald, started writing Buddha. Because Buddha called him, actually. What happened was, in 1990, Buddha called him, collect. And he apologized. He apologized to him. He apologized to his wife. He apologized to his kids for what he had done. And this man actually forgave him, and they became friends. They became friends. This man would write Buddha all the time, send him money for stamps and stuff like that. Every Christmas, every holiday, things like that, he got a card. Buddha would call him every once in a while, you know, find out how he was doing, how the family's doing. They built a bond. And the plan was that when Buddha came home from prison, These two were going to get together. Attacker and victim. We're going to get together, and then we're going to start going around to high schools and junior high schools and talking to kids. I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. I got goosebumps thinking about that. This man forgave him. This man understood that, it was more to it than this is just a bad kid. I get goosebumps. Can you imagine the impact that would have had on certain communities? Do you realize how many people might have been saved had that reunion happened? And I say had because in 1994, Buddha was released, only for the system to realize that they made a mistake and miscalculated his time. So they let him out for a day, came and snatched him, brought him back to prison. He had to do another year. So Buddha was released in, I believe it was September 6th of 95. Okay? On September 10th, Buddha was on 114th Street and Madison Avenue, uptown. And he was on a motorbike. He was riding on the back and his boy was doing wheelies. And they crashed into a car. Buddha fell, hit his head. Come to find out that the car that they crashed into was one of the parole officers' cars. They had 4 different teams of parole and people watching Buddha. He'd only been home 3 days. Now this is unheard of. They don't do this. So it was just a matter of time before they was going to get him for something and just violate him. Buddha was, his life, who knows what it would have been, but they weren't going to let that go. Even though the man who was shot and paralyzed forgave him and wouldn't have wanted anything to happen to him. They built a friendship. They built a bond. Serious. He loved Buddha, and Buddha loved him, and Buddha was very, very sorry for what he did. He was a kid. A lot of kids make mistakes, and Mr. McDonald understood that. So again, he hit his head, he fell on the floor. It just so happened that the car that he crashed into was the parole and the police officers that were watching him. And Buddha laid in the streets almost 50 minutes, 5-0. Meanwhile, there was a hospital right down the block on 99th and Madison. 100th and Madison, it's a big hospital. So they were 14 blocks away. In New York, every 20 blocks in Manhattan is 1 mile. In case anybody didn't know that, you do now. 20 blocks is 1 mile. So he was 14 blocks. So he was just a little bit short of 3/4 of a mile away from the ambulance, from the hospital. It took them almost an hour to get there. They didn't want him to live. Buddha died in the streets. Buddha died right there on 114th and Madison, laying in the streets. Hit his head, crashed, the impact. That's what happened to Buddha. Again, were they going to let him live? Probably not, because that's unheard of. People watching him, he just came home. But they had a special task force just to watch him. Steven McDonald didn't go to the funeral because he felt it would take away from the family from mourning and stuff like that. Because Steven McDonald was cool with the family. He used to go and visit the family when Buddha was in prison. And he got cool with the family as well. The mom and whoever else he had. True story. Steven McDonald ended up dying in 2017 at the age of 59. He died of a heart attack. But anybody could Google any of this, Shavod Jones, or Google Steven McDonald with a V, S-T-E-V-E-N, McDonald. And you'll see what I'm talking about. The Steven McDonald Award, which is an NHL award, National Hockey League award for the sportsmanship, for the best sportsman of the year in hockey, is named the Steven McDonald Award. That's where it came from for all you hockey fans. Now you know who Steven McDonald was. He was very forgiving. That's why I tell you in the beginning, this story is about, violence, but it's also about forgiveness. Just imagine the impact those two would have had together, but it just wasn't, it didn't happen. It couldn't happen. They weren't going to let it happen. You know, that's why I do what I do also as well, because some of the stuff that was going on then is still going on now. As far as leadership, as far as dads being in pictures, as far as them having positive role models. This is why I do what I do. This is why I try to, that's why I'm so passionate about telling stories, so these kids can understand. These kids can understand. And also adults can understand that a lot of these kids that are running around the streets doing, you know, it's more to it. Just the other day over here in Brooklyn, 6 people got shot in a drive-by. I think 1 died, you know, so far 5 are, you know, all have hit, but they're not going to die. Now some people may look at them and say, man, these guys, you know, but I look at it a little bit different. Let's get a little deeper. Let's see the family structure. Let's see what's going on in these kids' lives. Is there any positive role models? That's why I warn people about following these people like on YouTube and Instagram promoting bullshit. It's promoting bullshit. There's millions of kids like Buddha out there right now. 12, 13, 14, 15. No guidance. Being raised by the streets. But as y'all already know, my motto, the streets don't love you. The streets care nothing about you. You die and that's it. That life goes on. You know, again, a lot of people, you know, when you hear the story, oh my God, what he did, he was bad. I get it. But if you knew him as a person, you'd understand, man. The kid had a future, man. He was a good dude, very smart. He was an adult now. But things you do when you're younger, like I always say, can always come back and catch up to you later in life, no matter how old you are. Story of redemption. You know, it's a story of forgiveness, rather. And this is, again, why I do what I do, because I see a lot of the, you know, these kids follow nonsense. They follow false, you know, false idols, false images. You know, I want to let everybody know what you see on Instagram is not real. People only post good things, or, you know, post good things about their life. Or they post things to show, hey, look, I'm doing good. And, you know, you ain't. It's fake. Instagram's fake. YouTube too. I talk to all these, I'm letting all these kids know. Stop following these bozos on YouTube who are promoting bullshit. The only people who should be offended right now are the bozos promoting bullshit. If you're promoting bullshit, use a bozo. So no one should be coming at me, yo, why are you talking like that? Well, if you feel that way, then you must be one of them. You gotta be, you know, here's a riddle for everybody, right? What's the difference between somebody promoting bullshit on Instagram and YouTube and the police? Nothing. Nothing. In fact, you're helping the police by promoting this bullshit. Because you're leading these kids right into a stable that they're going to swoop them all up, send them all to prison, or some of them are going to die. And then what? You're just going to keep going on YouTube? You're helping them. You're helping send kids to the penitentiary. You're helping. So what's the difference in that riddle? Nothing. There's no difference in that. If you want here promoting bullshit, leading these kids astray, leading these kids down the wrong path, you're no different than a cop. You're no different than the feds. And I don't mean no disrespect to cops or feds, but you get the point. What's the difference? Kids, stop following these bozos. You need to start, you know, Follow somebody who's doing something positive, who's speaking positive things. This guy. It's crazy what I'm seeing in these streets, man. I'm seeing all these people getting shot. You see what's going on here in New York? People getting shot every day all over the place. It's been happening, but it's just been crazy lately. Why? Right? What's up with these OGs? Let's go. OGs, what we doing? Do we want these kids to go through the same struggle we did? Do we want these kids to suffer behind a wall? Do we want these kids to end up losing their sanity in solitary confinement? Do we want this? I don't want this shit. I definitely don't want that. I'm speaking to the OGs now. We got to do better, man. We got to do better. A lot of people say, man, you're never going to stop the violence. I may not. I may not. But somebody here may hear my words and not make the same mistakes I did. That's my whole goal to this thing, man. As you guys know, I always say that I'm not a YouTuber, even though I got a lot of videos on here. I'm not on here every day doing lives. There's some people you see every day on here doing crazy, and all they do is promote bullshit, because that's their only content. They got no, nothing else, unless it's bullshit and beef and drama. If you suffered like I suffered, if you've been through stuff like I've been through stuff, and you promoting shit on here, I got no respect for you. Real shit. I don't care who don't like it. Because if you don't like it, then that must mean that you're promoting bullshit and you're a bozo. Other than that, I shouldn't hear nothing from nobody. It just makes me sick. Makes me sick. Dads, we got to do better. Big brothers, we got to do better. Uncles, we got to do better. We have to do better. There's a generation lost right now, following bullshit. Following lames. Following people telling them the wrong thing to do. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? I'm trying to do my part here. This is my part. Because again, a lot of things, it's tough for me. I got wife, kids, work, I can only do so much. But I'm trying. I'm here. I'm talking to you guys. This is what this is for. Today, I just wanted to bring you that story. I want you guys to let me know what you think of that story, man. Where the victim actually forgave somebody who paralyzed him for life from the neck down. He was in a wheelchair. He used to have the thing here, right, and talk like this. Like, what? Think about the heart that man had, man. Rest in peace to Steven McDonald. Rest in peace to Buddha, too. Let me know what you guys think about this story. Part of my little Street Legends series. Again, it won't be such a long hiatus on the next video. I got a bunch of things starting with my first next week. First interview. I got a bunch of interviews set up, so I'm going to start dropping them once a week at a certain time so everyone has something to look forward to. Comment down below. Make sure before you leave this video, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification, and hit the all. Okay? So your boy, every time I drop a video, you will know about it. If you don't press the all, you won't know. You're wasting your time or hitting the notification. But go down, hit subscribe, leave a like. If you dislike the video, leave whatever. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this story, man. Because I think that shit is deep. I think it's deep, man. Again, rest in peace to Shavod Jones. Rest in peace to Steven McDonald. And on that note, people, you know the motto. Experience is the greatest teacher. But somebody else's experience can be just as valuable if you pay attention and listen. And on that note, people, Fred White, signing off.